Hello and welcome to this repair tutorial, and today we're going to look at a NAD, and the model number is C270, and this is a power amplifier. In terms of general specifications, power output is 120 watts times 2 into 8 ohm speakers, but if you choose you can switch it then to bridge mono mode, and then that provides 300 watts into 8 ohms single channel, and then frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Total harmonic distortion is 0.03%, and then your input sensitivity is 1.1 volt. And then on the rear, you can have a fixed input, or you can choose to connect directly to the variable input, and there is a user adjustable control to increase or decrease that input signal. And as is common with all of these amplifiers, you also have a trigger input, so the amplifier could be powered up, and then you can use an external 12 volt signal to automatically switch on, for example, if you had two of these amplifiers in your system, to switch both on at the same time. On the rear, there is also a soft clipping switch, and then in terms of dimensions, height, width and depth is 132 by 435 by 350 millimeters, and the weight of the amplifier is 11.2 kilograms. So what was the issue with this amplifier when the owner contacted me? Well, what the owner advised was that he'd actually acquired them from a previous owner, and there's actually two repair tutorials, and what I've done is I'll put a link in the description for this video so you can follow along with that repair tutorial. And there were different issues associated with this power amplifier. Now, what I would advise, and I always say this, is that you have to return amplifiers back to a known good state before you undertake any sort of further repair work. And the reason for that is these amplifiers have installed these JH capacitors, and we know that JH capacitors fail. They go open circuit, they go low in value and very high ESR. And that can result in the amplifier remaining in standby stroke protection mode. So here, part of this repair was to replace every single one of these electrolytic capacitors, and all the capacitors were replaced with Nichicon, so these are high quality Japanese capacitors. So here when you look from the top, if you look on the left hand side, that's the first, should we say, power output module. On the right, the next one. At the front you have the small circuit board, which is where you have your trigger input coming in, and then immediately in front of you is the main amplifier and signal conditioning circuits. Also the speaker protection relays are just in shot, just towards the front here. And then in the back you can see the large toroidal transformer. Now if we kind of zoom in a little bit more detail and we have a look at this photograph here, again what you can see is this brown glue, and it's covering multiple components. So what I always advise is, as part of this recapping exercise, if you see any brown glue on any of the circuit boards, you have to take the time to remove all of it. If that brown glue is coating, for example, any resistors or diodes or transistors, replace them because it's corrosive and it's also conductive. And then what I also want to highlight is you have multiple interconnectors, which we'll show a little bit later on, but the point to emphasize here is that you need to take the amplifier apart and you need to remove each one of the modules. So what I'm referring to is you need to remove the left, right power output modules, and then you can then also remove the standby stroke trigger board, and you can also remove the main amplifier board, and then you can take them out and you can effectively work on them very easily on the bench. Now what I'm showing here is an extract from the service manual, and it would appear that the C270 manual is nowhere in the public domain. Even if there was such a manual, I've never seen one, but you can use the C272 higher spec version. And what I'm showing you here is the speaker protection circuit. And the reason why I'm showing you this is it's associated with what you've seen a moment ago with all of these multiple connectors. If, for example, I took, say, a NAD C270, which is an integrated amplifier, what I can do is I can remove the two power output modules, and then I'm left then with the main circuit board, and I can, for example, recap it. I can do all of the work, and then I can then keep that board, nothing else connected, the power output module is not connected. I can power up the amplifier, check the relevant DC voltages, but I will also hear that the speaker protection circuit will change over, and this is what you're seeing here. When you are doing the recapping and testing of this amplifier, if you do not install the two output power modules, it will not switch out of protection mode. The reason being is that these signals are coming directly from those modules, so you need these interconnecting cables to be connected. I am aware that you can also purchase capacitor kits, meaning that these amplifiers could be stuck in protection mode, but realistically, if you're just going to replace, a handful of capacitors associated with this protection circuit, it's not really getting you to where you need to be. You need to do a complete recap for the reasons that we stated, because they are JH. But here you just have a very common UPC 1237HA dedicated IC that is simply monitoring the DC on the output speaker terminals, and if either channel or both have excessive high DC, then it will de-energize the protection relays for the speakers. It also has part of that integrated circuit an inbuilt timer, and then that timer is then set by the value of the capacitor, which you see here, which is C756. And you can also see that the IC is looking to detect also as well the AC. And then if we kind of have a look here at one of the output modules, again, you can see that we have issues with brown glue. There's also quite a heavy layer of dust, but as with many amplifier repair and services, completely normal. Just use a brush and a compressed air line to clear all of that out of there. And then here, what you can also see is we have the signal input conditioning module, which is the device in the metal stroke plastic top case. And there are electrolytic capacitors on that circuit board. So again, you will need to desolder that from the board and remove it and then replace the capacitors. You're also starting to see as well that there is discoloration on many of these electrolytic capacitors. And the reason for that is that the power output modules, of course, run very hot because it's a power amplifier. And the layout of the circuit board is such that a lot of the electrolytics are very, very close to power components, be it resistors or maybe transistors, and you get this heating effect. And with any electrolytic capacitor, well, the last thing you want is high equivalent series resistance. But as they dry out, the resistance increases, and then that results then in more heat being generated to the point that the capacitors completely dry out. And what I've done is I've put a link in the description for the video, which is for a tutorial where I go in depth with regard to electrolytic capacitors used in amplifiers and the different types of applications and also faults. So you can refer back to that for additional information. And then here you can see that there is a power relay which is just on the trigger board, lots of brown glue. And then you can also just about make out there's two preset potentiometers on each one of these power output boards. One of them is to set the DC offset, and then the other one is used to set the bias for the amplifier, but we'll come to that as part of the repair tutorial. So here, when you look from the rear of the amplifier, you can see on the left hand side we have the RCA input socket, and this is for your fixed input of 1.1 volt maximum. And then the next set of RCA connectors is used for your variable input, and there's also a user adjustable potentiometer there to set the level. You can also see that you have dual sets of output terminals. There's also the trigger input, and then you'll also find the bridge switch and also the soft clipping switch. And then when you come to disassemble the amplifier, what is nice is that you also have this wiring diagram. What I would always advise is if this is maybe the first time you've done this or it's been a long time, just take a series of photographs just so you can verify where all the different connectors go. What you tend to find is that a lot of the connector wires are already kind of formed over time, so it's kind of difficult to get them mixed up. But when you have like a connection from the main amplifier board maybe to the power output modules, which are clearly labelled left and right, there is a chance maybe you could get an interconnector mixed up. So this just ensures that you have the right connections to the right place. And then here, this is an extract from the service manual. So I'm not sort of going to go into detail. The good news is that you can download the C270 service manual. But here, what it is not covering is some additional parts of the circuit. And on the next repair tutorial, where I'll put the link for another C270, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail because there was a fault associated with the plus and minus 18 volt supply. And then here you can see that we've removed the main amplifier board, and the discoloration of those electrolytic capacitors on the left hand side is very, very clear. And then you can also see, as I keep mentioning, all of this brown glue. And then here we take a side view. The connector which I was referring to, where maybe you could get it accidentally mixed up, is these two connectors nearest to you. The one with the blue wire and then the one with two wires. So here, main process was remove all of the dust, debris, replace the speaker protection relays, and then what I'm also doing as well is I actually remove each one of the slide switches, which you'll see in a moment. And then if we turn the amplifier board over, be systematic, check every single solder joint and resolder any of them which are either cracked or maybe off color. You must do that work. And then here what you can see is the top of the board with the 4 large electrolytic capacitors removed. And as I said previously, if you kind of give them a shake, you'll hear that they rattle, completely dried out. And then you can see all of the other smaller electrolytic capacitors. On this board, on the right hand side, you can see that there was a lot of this brown glue. So in terms of time, I'd say this work to do the recapping, get out all the glue and do all the alignment, probably going to take you maybe 5-6 hours. And again, it may be something you do in one session, or you do some of the work and then come back and then complete it. But yeah, it's not a 5-minute job is what I'm saying. And then here, what we've done is just remove some of the low voltage power supply capacitors from the board. And again, this brown conductive glue is coating multiple components. There's also one of the leads on the transistor. Again, that transistor was replaced. And then here we're showing you the example of one of the slide switches. And you can see the level of oxidization. It's really substantial, and it's coating the contacts and also the slide connectors as well, or slide contacts. So you need to use a fiberglass pencil, just move it backwards and forwards, and it will bring up all of those connections very bright. And then you can apply some De-Oxit D5 grease, then just to add that longevity. And then here, this is the signal conditioning module. And as I said, there are 2 electrolytic capacitors on here. So those 2 have been replaced with Nichicon ones. You can sort of just fold them over and then it will slide back into the module. Here you've got a bit of camera flash on there, so it's not too clear, but just double check on the orientation of that board when it goes back into its outer case. When you put it into the circuit board, you'll find that there's 2 fixing screws which come through the board and then secure and lock it into position. And then in terms of your recapping, it's up to yourselves how you do this. You might want to recap the main amplifier board first of all. I kind of did it reverse. What I did was I just took the 2 power amplifier modules, and you don't have to remove all the power output transistors. All you need to do here is to remove the clamp, which is at the front, and then there's 4 screws which hold the board onto the heatsink via some standoffs. And then you can just literally lift the board up, and then you can remove all of the capacitors and then replace them. And then here, once all that work had been done, and then we then reassemble the amplifier, what I would tell you to do here is to do a stage startup. So first and foremost, you need to verify and refer back to the main circuit diagram for the main board. And I've got to check multiple voltages. And you've got different test connectors, but again, these test connectors, the pins are very, very close together. So it's easy maybe to slip with a multimeter probe. Get some hook clips and connect onto there and then power up. So what I'm looking for, before I connect in any of the power output modules, I know the speaker protection relays will not change over. That's fine. Still going to be indicating a red LED on the front panel, but I want to make sure that I've got all the correct DC voltages before I do anything else. What I don't want to do is connect the power output modules and then maybe I'll find there's an issue with the 18-volt supply rails or maybe the main power rail. There's something else going on. Get to a state of known good. And then once that is verified and everything is fine, then you can install the power output modules. And then we come to this part here, which is where you will do the alignment. So here we're showing you the left channel output. And the first thing that I need to be doing is to adjust the DC offset. And you have test pins on the circuit board, but these test pins are effectively, once the amplifier powers up and the speaker protection relays change over, what you would see on the rear terminal. So for the DC offset, I'll just connect my multimeter to the rear terminals. But when you get to the point where you need to adjust the bias, then what you need to do then is to connect then across the test points. You'll see that on the photographs as we go through. So here you can see that we're connected to the rear speaker terminals, and after adjustment you can't quite make it out. That doesn't say 7.91 volts, it's actually millivolts. So it's well within the tolerance, but as with all of these amplifiers, with just a slight adjustment, you can get it almost to 0 millivolts. So here 0.40 millivolts, so extremely low. And then when we look at the next channel, you can see here what we're doing is we are setting up the bias value, and this is 5.76 millivolts. And then here, after adjustment, we've got it to 6.39. And then here we go back, and then we're then looking at the bias adjustment for the other channel, so slightly low at 5.85 millivolts. And then what I'm doing here is I'll just do the adjustment again, and it's at 6.12 millivolts. In terms of warm-up, I'd probably leave the amplifier running for 20 to 30 minutes just to stabilize through. And then here, when you look from the top, sort of like these kind of photographs, because it gives you a real graphical view of what the amplifier looks like after it has been repaired and serviced. And then if we kind of zoom in and get a little bit more detail, on the left hand side there's your trigger stroke start board, and then your toroidal transformer, and then your multi-pin connectors going off. And as I said, all high quality now, Nichicon capacitors. And then here I've replaced the 2 speaker protection relays which are at the rear. You can just about make them out. Kept to the original brand, and these are 24 volt coil, but they are single pole relays, and the current rating is 10 amps because it's a power amplifier. And then here, when we take another photograph, you can see we're giving you the view of one of the power amplifier modules, and then also the main amplifier board. And then here for the other channel, you can see just about the presets that I mentioned previously for setting your DC offset and for adjusting your bias. So once all of that was done, the only thing that remained then was just to put the amplifier onto test. And it probably ran for about 4 hours in total, full functional checks. As with all of these tutorials, if you just follow along step by step, I'm confident that you'll be able to restore your amplifiers back to pretty much how they were when they left the factory. So that sort of brings us to the end of this tutorial. So as always, I really appreciate you stopping by. And if you need any help, guidance or support, by all means email audioamplifierservicing@aol.com, and I'll be more than happy to provide any support or assistance you may require. So until the next time, I wish you all the very best. Cheers and bye-bye.